teacher to force me into a group. Not for any negative emotional reason, but just because I felt like doing my own thing. But with family, especially, once I got to be around 6 and older, I wanted to distance myself from my family. I think the best day I can have with my family is when we're just sitting at home, maybe watching some TV. Autistic people, because they are naturally displaced in society, we will eventually find something within our lives to where we want to make it our own. And when we have something that we set our minds to, we can accomplish it and thrive and strive to become the greatest, and we can surpass our neurotypical counterparts 10 effing fold. I am Thomas, and this has been my brief but spectacular experience with autism spectrum disorder and Asperger's syndrome.
WLAE-TV has a morning show for you. Watch Wake Up, live from Catholic Community Media, every weekday morning at 7. Fresh Catholic content from local priests, church events from our area, plus authors, the daily gospel, saints of the day, and prayer. Watch Wake Up, weekday mornings at 7 a.m. here on WLAE-TV.
You're watching WLAE, New Orleans Public Television.
Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans.
You've heard about rugby, the hard hits, the whole no pads thing, but rugby is more than that. It's this, the whole day, a whole culture.
Well, the fans bring the energy, so we better bring it too.
Every play, every match, for the city we call home.
This is rugby, and we are Nola Gold.
Welcome to Primetime Sports. I'm your host, Scott Alexander, and it is that time of year. It seems like I say it every week, but this really is. And you'll see after this open how much stuff is going on in the world of sports, particularly down here in the Crescent City and, of course, the great state of Louisiana. But we're going to start with March Madness. That's it, the wild NCAA tournament. At least the first round was wild. It was nuts. A lot of losses for these high-ranked teams. Kentucky fell early on, and they got smoked by Oakland. I mean, you had some great games in there, but then it kind of started to settle down by the second round, because now if we look at these seeds, there's only one that's even a double digit. That's on the right side of the screen right there. That's NC State, who will play 2 Marquette. But man, you got 1, 5, 4, 3, 2. I mean, it's all pretty much chalk. I would say even bigger underdog than NC State is Clemson, but we'll get to them in a second. Let's talk about the SEC, though. The SEC started out hard. They were 0-3, including that Kentucky loss. It did not look good. I got all my friends sending me texts, hey, are you going to go 0-8? I said, who knows? It's not my problem. But the bottom line is they did not go 0-8. They won 3 of 5 on Friday to go with 3-5 overall in the first round. 3 losses on the first day, 2 on the second. And then there you go. In the second round, you had 3 teams left: A&M, Alabama, and Tennessee. And there you see Alabama and Tennessee are the only two that made it through that. So the SEC is now 5-6. But, man, they both had tough games to get through. A&M barely lost, but Tennessee right there barely won against Texas. Dalton Connect, man, I got to tell you this. He was not hot at all. He's the SEC Player of the Year, but he got hot when he needed to at the end. He got a big slam in there. He had 4 free throws that were clutch at the end of the game. They had to have him, and he made them. On the other end, Alabama, man, they were in a battle. Don't look at the final score, winning by 11. This game was tied late in this game, and that was a team they were playing that nobody was thinking would be there. But let me say this. The Alabama Crimson Tide came through when they needed to. They were cold a lot of this game. They only had like 12 points in the first 10 minutes. A team that's almost averaging 100. That's nuts. But they got hot when they needed to. It was a battle. It was a very defensive game, and they had some bursts of offense, but not many. So Mark Sears on the right there in that picture is a stud. Bottom line, that guy's a stud. I'm looking forward to watching those two teams next round. But how about this? The 4-1 seeds are all in. You usually had last year, man, there was upsets left and right. I mean, Purdue is one of those teams that got beat in the first round last year by Fairleigh Dickinson, but they rolled along with Zach Edey, the Player of the Year. North Carolina looked really good as well. And don't forget UConn, the prohibitive favorite in this tournament. They look good. They can beat you in a number of ways. But, man, that Houston team had a battle. And I mean a battle when they beat Texas A&M in overtime. Looked like they kind of got it away at the end and looked like they were going to win, and all of a sudden A&M went on like a 13-2 run last couple minutes, and they put it in overtime. But Houston had 4 players foul out, and they still managed to win that game. But it was a thriller, and I hope the rest of the tournament continues to do that. There's other teams, though, that I like. Creighton right there is a team I told you last week was my sleeper pick to win it all. Don't dog me if they lose to Tennessee next game. I just thought if you're looking for a sleeper team, that was my team. I love that Creighton-Tennessee matchup. That is going to be fun to watch. But this team right here, Clemson, I even think they're the biggest underdog they got. Even though they're a 6 seed and NC State's an 11, I thought they were probably the biggest surprise to get where they are into the Sweet 16. Congratulations to those Tigers. But Duke, by the way, Duke, don't count Duke out. They were only a 4 seed, but they look like a 1 for sure. They rolled through their first 2 games, beating everybody's darling James Madison handily from tip-off to end. That was a blowout, nothing about it, but that guy, Jared McCain, in Fuego, he was on fire. That's right. Look at the company in the last quarter of a century that had been freshmen that scored 30 points and got 5 rebounds in a March Madness game. They're pretty good company. Zion Williamson and Tyreek Evans, one's a current Pelican and one's a former Pelican. Then you got the other 2, need no introduction. Kevin Durant, Carmelo Anthony, 2 of the greatest this game has seen in the last 25 years in the NBA, certainly. So congratulations to McCain moving forward. Going forward, how about the LSU women? They are now down to the Sweet 16. They had battles on their hands. They won their first round game. Wasn't handily. I mean, it won going away a little bit, but they had a battle on their hand in the second round, too. They were down 9 in the first half to Middle Tennessee State, but they ended up outscoring them by like 40 in the second half, and so they are going to play UCLA, as you see right there, who is the 2 seed. Remember, the LSU did the same thing last year. They beat the 2 seed. I think it might have been Virginia Tech, I believe, on a Thursday last year. This one's on a Saturday, but everybody's looking forward to the potential of Caitlin Clark up there as the 1 seed. Colorado, by the way, is hot, so that might be a little tougher than people think for Iowa. But the bottom line is LSU, Iowa, hopefully might be playing next week in the Elite 8 game. That would be so much fun to watch. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and a little battle again. But how about Kim Mulkey? She's had some turmoil, as we know, this past week. Washington Post article coming out. I'm not even going to comment on that. It's not my business. Hey, moving forward, how about the Loyola women? That's right. The Loyola women went to the Sweet 16, and they battled hard. They lost in overtime last Thursday. Congrats to that team. That's the 13th time under head coach Kelly Kennedy they've gone to the NCAA tournament, and Sweet 16 is nothing to sniff at. That was nice. Kelly Kennedy is going to be a guest today on this show, and I cannot wait. Moving forward, Tulane's Lisa Stockton, who Kelly Kennedy coached with for 10 years at Tulane, is retiring. She's a class act, great coach, 591 wins, is 80% of all the Tulane wins in their history. So we congratulate Lisa Stockton, who was a guest here on the show just a few months ago. We love her. Hey, moving forward, this is crazy. The Pelicans, they are rolling. Get on this bandwagon now. They just beat the Pistons. Everybody beats the Pistons. That's no big deal. But they won 3 out of 4 on this road. And that's what I kept saying. Win 3 of these 4. 2 are pretty easy games, so they should win. I just said split Miami and Orlando, come home, and they did just that. Now they have this big homestand. This is a big one. Starting tonight against Oklahoma City. That's now the 2, I think they're second now to Denver in the West, but that team plays great defense, and they play cohesive basketball. They're fun to watch. Biggest surprise team in the NBA to me, the Milwaukee Bucks. That's another contender. In fact, if you look at the odds, these 3 games right here, they're all top 5 in the odds to win it all. That's it. That's right. You got the first team right there is the Boston Celtics. They're the 1 seed to win it all. They play them Saturday afternoon. They got a big game next week and against another big contender. And then they end that 5-game homestand with the San Antonio Spurs. Here's where we look now. Tied for 4th. Look at this. You want that home court advantage. Get that 4th seed if you possibly can. It's going to be tough, though, because you got great games, plus Brandon Ingram, who is a superstar in my opinion. He is out for at least 2 weeks with an injury, but this will give other guys time to gel. Hey, let's move forward. There's so much action going on in this city. The Nolan Gold. How about this? They are 3-1 now after beating the Dallas Jackals 35-22, and they're going into their bye. And we're going to have their captain and superstar and great player, great person, JP du Plessis from South Africa is coming on the show. He was the MLR back of the year back in 2019, and he also was the back of the year here for the team in 2022. Looking forward to having him on. Love JP, special guy. Also, we're going to talk about the Louisiana Derby. What a surprise. The winner was Catching Freedom. He was probably the 8th of trainer Brad Cox's horses. If you look back in the beginning of January, if he had to pick one that would be going to the Derby, it wouldn't have been this one. But this horse is definitely going, and he's going to go, and hopefully, like last year, the Louisiana Derby winner finished 3rd in the Kentucky Derby out of 20 horses. That's amazing. Rory McIlroy is coming to New Orleans for the first time. I look forward to this. I love the Zurich Classic. It's a great tournament. The team competition, it's phenomenal, and he's going to team up with countryman Shane Lowry, and they are going to come here. He's never played in New Orleans, so I look forward to seeing him compete in the Zurich Classic, and that's going to be fantastic. I got to give the LSU gymnasts some props. They won the SEC title right there in the Smoothie King Center, right down the street. I could see it out my window right here, and Haley Bryant was amazing. Congratulations to the entire team, and Jay Clark, another coach who's here on this show literally just about a year ago. I love this team and what they're doing, and they are rising. LSU football practice is in swing, and I love what Doug Mutzmeyer, the new quarterback, just said. He said, we're not fooling around with this. We want more than 10 wins. 10 wins is not enough. It's Garrett Nussmeier. I'm thinking of somebody else, but I know there's a Doug Nussmeier out there. Garrett Nussmeier is the quarterback, and I'm going to say this. He is loving the fact that they don't want to just win 10. They want to win 12, 13, and dare I say it, 15 like Coach O did in 2019. And speaking of Coach O, he was at Tulane's practice, and he was talking up the Tulane Green Wave. He loved what he saw. He loved the culture. He loved the spirit. He loved the talent he's now seeing over there. And he gave a rousing speech to the team. And Google that one if you have a chance. Moving on to baseball, LSU. We love our Tigers. We love all the local baseball teams, but the Tigers are in a little bit of a slump, losing 2 of their last 6 SEC games to start the season. They dropped the series in Mississippi State, and they won one again only against Florida. They won the first one on Friday. They lost the second 2. Florida is avenging the College World Series loss in the finals. Remember that. Also, Tulane and Southeastern, got to give them props. They both won their series this weekend. Tulane beat perennial power Rice, and then you saw what I told you about Southeastern taking down Northwestern State. But here's what I'm going to tell you about. The UNO Privateers, look out for this team. They are now 3-0 in conference. They swept a very, very, very good Nichols team in Thibodaux this past weekend. So they got 4 in a row going because they beat Jackson State in the middle of the week. So now they're on a 4-game win streak, and we get them while they're hot. We got the, you see it right there, the Southland Hitter of the Week. Man, what an average. 4-12, 4 doubles, 9 RBIs in 4 games. Look at this. Miguel Useche. He's coming on the show next, right here on Primetime Sports. Get ready.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. We talked a lot about March Madness in that open, but we're going to get to some other sports, and that's what I love about this show. We explore not just basketball, not just baseball, not just football, but we're going to go all of them. We're going to go women's basketball, which I love, and everybody's got their focus on the tournament, and I'm so happy about that in the women's side as well, and also rugby. That's coming up later. But first, we are going to do some baseball. College baseball, we got the hottest guy in the state of Louisiana right now, sitting right to my left, and his name is Miguel Useche, and he is from Miami, and he's his third year at UNO. He was the Southland Conference Hitter of the Week this week. They went 4-0 for the week, and he was a big part of it. Why? He handled the pitchers well as a catcher, and he also hit the ball, hitting .412 for the week with 9 RBIs in just 4 games. Miggy, what's happening, my friend?
Thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Man, we had the beach volleyball girls from UNO last week. I'm on a UNO rule right now. We had a bunch of Tulane and LSU in the fall. I said, we're going to branch out. And I'm so happy because Blake Dean is one of my favorite guys, and I love seeing the success you guys have at UNO.
No, yeah, I mean, Blake's done a great job with us. I mean, he's a big offensive guy, and our offense is starting to get rolling, and we have a pretty good team. We're going to be pretty special. Did
you know about Blake's hitting when he was a player before you know him? Because he doesn't look that, when you see him, he's not that big, but this guy was a mauler, SEC Player of the Year. He was on a team that won the World Series, I believe, in 2009 for LSU, that is, and this guy can hit. So you're a hitter yourself. Did he say anything about his exploits?
Not before I committed. I didn't know about Blake Dean until I got here, and then everybody started talking about him and his tenure at when he was at LSU, and that's when I found out, did some research, and I was like, wow, this guy was really, really good.
He could rake, and he had one of the smoothest, sweetest swings you've ever seen. I don't say that very often, but he was one of those in that special group. Tell me about your week, man. I mean, this was a big week for you. And when I signed you up, I didn't know you were going to be the hitter of the week. That honor came yesterday for you in the conference. That's big time. But when I signed, I said, you know what, UNO went 4-0 this week. We got to recognize them because that was a good Nichols team you just took out.
No, they were definitely a very good team. I think we played very good. They played very good. It was 3 really close games. I think they're going to be dangerous at the conference especially, and they're going to be up there towards the top along with us at the end of the season.
Well, I know you guys lost some players, right? I mean, I know Blake came on right before the season, and he was actually, openly saying, hey, I'm not sure how we're going to fill some of these roles. We got to see how it comes out. And y'all had already been practicing for quite a while. The season was only less than 2 weeks away at that time. What's making y'all gel at the right time?
We definitely lost some key bats. We lost 3 really, really key bats to the transfer portal, but I feel like this team has a lot more chemistry. We bond and gel together way more than I feel any team that I've been a part of, at least here at UNO.
Well, I'm going to say this. You came from Miami. You obviously had choices. You admitted that you were a Florida Gator fan growing up. I think you went JUCO for a year, correct?
Yes, sir.
And now you're a senior after 3 years in New Orleans. What made you decide to come to the New Orleans Privateers?
Well, when I talked to Blake and then the former recruiting coordinator, Brett Stewart, it just felt like home when I talked to them. They gave me a great offer, couldn't resist it. I knew about New Orleans. I knew it was a crazy city, a fun city, some great food, and it just felt like home when they offered me.
So you mentioned food, so I'm going to go there because I usually say it when people aren't from New Orleans, and I say it, from people that come in town. But different reason I'm going to talk to you about it, because the first thing that Coach Dean said about you, he goes, this guy's a foodie. He loves food. I mean, you obviously work it off because you're not looking like me, like who loves food and doesn't work it off. But the fact is he says you love to test restaurants out. You do a little critique on them. Tell me how you like food so much, why, and then tell me which restaurants you like the best.
So being Hispanic, I guess my family just always grew me up eating well, eating mostly natural food, nothing processed, and having a lot of flavor, a lot of seasoning in it, and just eating good food. I tend to enjoy it. Around here in New Orleans, I think my favorite restaurant is probably GW Finn's.
Oh my gosh.
Big on that place.
That's the freshest fish in town.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not good friends with that owner, and I'm with some others. I can tell you right now, some of the best fish I've ever had in my life.
Oh, definitely. The scallop that they have there is fantastic.
Right.
Surprisingly, the filet mignon they serve is actually very, very good. Restaurant Revolution down the street from GW Finn's.
Some of the best
very,
gumbo.
very good.
Some of the best gumbo I've ever had.
Oh yeah, very, very good. Barracuda, a little taco shop.
Yep.
On Chapatulas.
Yeah.
Very, very good.
Look at
Smaller,
you.
more simple, but very, very, very well done.
You're getting all over town. I like it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you eat out every night? I mean, what's the story here?
It's hard not to. I eat out a lot, I will say that. But if there's one thing I spend money on, is definitely food.
Well, listen, you're from Venezuela. You spent the first 5 years of your life. I don't think it's any secret for anybody that knows baseball. Some of the best baseball players in the world come from that country. And, you know, the surrounding little islands. Like, I mean, I did the Braves for 14 years. Andrew Jones, one of the greatest players defensively in the history of baseball, was from Curacao, right outside Venezuela. But what makes Venezuela such a hotbed for baseball players?
Honestly, I think, one, it's tropical, so you can play year-round. Two, I feel like it has to do with the culture, the music, the rhythm, all the excitement. They're very, very passionate. I mean, that's definitely the #1 sport in Venezuela, at least. They're just super passionate, super loud. The games are crazy. I mean, you hear about news about them all the time, and I just think it's that, the music, the culture, the passion.
When did you start playing baseball? I mean, did you start as a little kid when you were in Venezuela, or did you start when you moved to Miami?
So I started right before I was 3, about 2.5 years old. My dad played a little bit of pro ball. He signed with the Expos, and he got me into it, and I've played it ever since.
For you kids out there, the Expos are the Washington Nationals, and I love going to Montreal when we did games. The Braves, they were in the National League, so I went to Montreal quite a bit. I don't know if he ever made it up there, but still, to be in a major league, you know, in a franchise on a farm team, that's remarkable. What's your goals in your future?
Definitely follow his footsteps. Hopefully, make it to the major leagues one day.
I'm gonna say this: UNO's got a ton, but I'm sure you know this now, having been there for a long time. LSU, we all know about the 6 national titles. Countless World Series, you know, visits, but the first team that made it to the College World Series from this state was UNO, and I remember because my high school teammate was the shortstop for that team, and I remember the whole state was proud. 1984, Kenny Bonura was my friend, but that team was loaded with guys that played, you know, professionally. What do they talk about when they talk about that? Because Ron Maestri was the don of obviously UNO sports in general, but particularly baseball.
I mean, Ron still hangs around with us all the time. He's always at every game. He'll show up to some practices.
Legend. He's a true legend.
Oh, yeah. Talked with him a little bit. He's an amazing guy, has a lot of wisdom. I mean, he just loves us. He definitely loves UNO. I mean, it's also to have a legend like that, just kind of, we're trying to carry out his legacy and still win some games for him.
I mean, Blake's a legend, too. I mean, listen, the guy's a playing legend. He came to UNO. You know, they were really down when I moved back here 12 years ago. I hated to see what they had become, like 6 wins, 7 wins, 8 wins. It wasn't good. Ron came back, had been out of coaching, I want to say at least 20 years. He kind of was trying to give it stability, and he hired Blake as a hitting coach. And I remember this because it was right when I moved back in 12, and then Blake took over. Man, he's been 30 win. I mean, he's done a great job, even 40 wins sometimes. So, like, the future of UNO looks bright. And what would you give that reason for that be?
I think Blake, for sure, and then the staff that he puts around us. I mean, he definitely has a good staff around us. He knows how to recruit. He gets the right guys. I mean, with our budget, our recruiting tools, we might not have the resources that maybe an LSU has or like a Tulane has, but he gets the right players and we all get on board, and he just makes something special out of us.
Listen, UNO, Loyola, I mean, I have friends that have coached both, good friends, and I know how hard it is to win when you don't have that budget, you know, and you're going against people that do. It doesn't seem fair sometimes. But to see the success of my future guest Kelly Kennedy coming on, and it's just in a little while, and Blake, it is remarkable to see. I mean, because I know how hard it is to get players and to, you know, keep them there, et cetera, et cetera. So what has kept you at UNO when you probably could transfer a number of places?
Definitely the city, and Blake, I know. I mean, there's definitely times where we might have butt heads on philosophies when it comes to hitting.
Well, talk about that. I want to hear it. No, because Blake, okay, I want to hear what you have to say about that part.
I mean, we definitely have different philosophies when it comes to hittings, but at the end goal, I mean, he knows if it works for somebody, he'll let you do it. He'll let you have that freedom. So he's very open-minded, but he's very stern on this. He makes sure we're accountable to each other. We're doing what we need to do to be able to win, and but yeah, he just makes sure.
That's interesting to me. I mean, I'm gonna tell you why. Because I played a lot of baseball, and I like to use the leg kick, right? And when I bat, and then when I had my kids coming up and they played high school baseball, they were like, "Oh no, you can't do any of that. It's all about shifting the hips." And I'm like, so I've been teaching these kids this forever, and they were all good hitters, and then they had to change it. Is that philosophy anything what you're talking about?
A little bit of that. but also just some other stuff, more in-depth mechanical stuff.
Right. Well, explain that, because I'm interested in this.
So I have a big uppercut in my swing, I'd say. I understand
exactly what you mean. Go ahead.
I think it's worked for me in the past. There's definitely times where it gets me in trouble, and then that's where I'd go to him, and then he kind of balanced me out. So we kind of have that relationship where at times it works for me, but I know I can resort back and we can kind of work, meet in the middle, and have success.
I love what you just said, because Blake is a contact guy, and I know, and you, we like to swing for those fences sometimes. I get it completely. What made you successful as a hitter? I mean, what would you bring that to? Like, why are you such a good hitter?
I think it's just understanding my body. I've had previous coaches that were big on not necessarily the swing and mechanically, but what your body's doing in space. And so just really understanding what my body's doing whenever I'm swinging and trying to maximize how I use my body to generate the most adjustability, but also power.
I say catcher is the hardest position, maybe in all sports, honestly, because people don't realize that you have to control. Your defense is the most important thing on the field. You're the only guy involved in every pitch of the game. If you play 9 innings, the pitcher is always getting pulled at some point, and you dictate what's happening. Okay, so how do you become such a good catcher defensively and be a good hitter? Because you see so many times it's a rare combination when you have both. Piazza, phenomenal hitter, not a great catcher, right? But you've had some that have been able to do both, like in the old days of Johnny Bench. These days there's been others like that. How do you put the two together? Because you have to focus so much on the defense, because the biggest part of your game is making sure that pitcher's feeling good, right, and pitching well. And then you also can hit. What do you test that to?
I think it's mostly actually separating the two. No matter what you do defensively that day or what you do offensively that day, you still have to do the other part. So if I have a bad day offensively, I need to make sure I'm there defensively for the pitcher to make sure I give my team the best chance to win. Being able to understand, I think we have 16 or so pitchers, understand all the different personalities, understand what gets them going, and making sure they're there that day.
Okay, so when you were growing up, was your favorite player a catcher, or who would that have been? A couple of your favorite players that you loved? And if it wasn't a catcher, who's your favorite catcher?
My favorite catcher growing up, I'd probably say Yachty.
Okay.
Definitely Yachty. My favorite player,
he's a beast. Yeah.
I'd have to say probably Miguel Cabrera. I mean, being from Venezuela, I always seen him always being able to rake. I mean, it's pretty cool to see.
Triple crown. There's not many of them that have happened in the history of the game. We give Gibson. I'm just proud of what you guys are doing. I know you start off. I went to the Nichols-Tulane game early in the season. Tulane won that game in a close one, but Nichols is a good baseball team. So when I saw that y'all swept them, I was like, wow, in Thibodaux? That's not easy to do. And I'm giving you props, your team props. This is task performance, and I'm going to say this. I started wearing this when I first moved back a dozen years ago, and I have not put it down. And that happens to be my favorite color. That's the gunmetal. Enjoy that. And we're going to let you go. There's a restaurant you haven't tried, and I want you to tell me and call me when you're done, because this is one of my favorite restaurants, Shays de la Shays on Maple Street uptown. So you're going to have to go in Tulane area. You're going to go in enemy territory, but it's right there between Broadway and Carrollton uptown. Miggy, Miguel Miggy Useche. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming, and congratulations on the rest of the season. I know you play Southern tonight. This show is obviously being taped during the day. He'll be playing baseball when it airs, but we'll get you a copy of it, all right? All right, that's Miguel Useche. Hey, we're going to come back. We got a couple great ones. I'm not sure what order we're going to do because we got a little late in taping, but we have Kelly Kennedy, the head coach from the Loyola Wolfpack. That's right. They went to, I believe, a 13 conference tournament, NCAA tournaments, and she'll correct me if I'm wrong there. And then guys that I know well, Carl Myers there. I'm not sure he's going to come on the set, but JP Duplessis, his former teammate from South Africa, and right here for the NOLA Gold. They're coming up next. All that on Primetime Sports.
Max Durbus Realtors has been providing commercial and industrial real estate services to its clients for nearly 100 years. Since 1934, Max Durbus has been locally owned and operated throughout the greater New Orleans area, including the North Shore, Hammond, and even the Mississippi Gulf Coast and beyond. We focus on your commercial real estate needs so you don't have to. More information is available at 504-733-4555.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock rockin' bowl. At Mid-City Lane's the home of rockin' bowl.
This is New Orleans. You've been to games. You've seen the hard hits, felt the ground shake. You've heard the fans erupt, and you've watched the team answer. You've seen sports in the city, but until you see NOLA Gold, you ain't seen a thing.
Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. I misspoke. It's not 13 NCAA tournament visits, it's 13 NAIA. And they just finished last week. They had a heartbreaker, Loyola Wolfpack did, last Thursday. It was in overtime in the Sweet 16. And their coach, Kelly Kennedy, is joining us today to talk about that and the great success that they've had in the last several years. I mean, if you're not looking, man, I've been watching. They've won three of the last four conference tournaments. And they've been rolling, and here she is, Kelly. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Am I right on the 3 or 4? Because I get y'all and the boys mixed up sometimes, but I know you both won this year, and I know they had that great year 2 years ago when they only lost one game and won the national championship.
Yes.
But what do you attribute the success for Loyola basketball, men and women?
You know, Loyola is just a really great school academically. We have a ton of support on the athletic side. Brett Simpson, our athletic director, has really done a great job.
He's
been there. He's been there as long as I've been there, but in the position of athletic director, I don't even know, 8-10 years maybe. But
he's been there as a lifer, working his way into that role, right? Was he a student there?
Yes, he played baseball.
He played baseball,
and then he coached baseball a little bit.
Right. Got an administration.
Yep. And then he followed Mike Giorlando into the athletic director position, and you know, I got hired by Mike, who's just a terrific guy. And then Brett followed him, and things have just gotten better along the way.
I wanted to say this because Mike told me this yesterday, because he's hired, obviously it's not just the main sports, you hire all the sports, and he said you were his best hire, or one of his best hires, I should say, but if not the best, is what he told me, he'd say it that way, that he hired. And he was there a long time. Obviously, Mike Giorlando, if you watch this show, you know he's a good friend of mine. He was the head coach and the athletic director for at least a decade, I know. And he hired you back in 2007. You were at Tulane, so you've been in New Orleans for quite a while. You were at Tulane for 10 years before that.
I have.
You took over Cowbell, I guess, for a couple years in the restaurant business. I don't know how long you kept that going, but talk about that whole run. Start with when you came over here, I believe, from Wilmington. Please tell me that's your picture right there, because I don't want to be wrong.
Oh, God.
Okay, that's look at you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's you
that is
early on, right?
Yes.
So you've been here, I guess this would be now almost 30 years. I mean, is it that long?
Yeah. It's 10 years at Tulane and 2 out, and then they're telling me this is 16 at Loyola. For some reason, I was thinking 17, but, you know, do the math.
Yeah, I think
it's been a while.
17.
It's almost 30, so that's a little scary.
What do you think of New Orleans, though? What's your take on this?
I love it. When I moved here, I thought, you know, I'm going to be there. I had no idea that I would be a lifer here.
Right.
I just thought that I would come here and work at Tulane and grow as an assistant, and then go somewhere as either an assistant or a head coach somewhere else. I thought I would find my way back to North Carolina or Virginia, really, in my career. But, you know, something about New Orleans, it just gets a hold of you and doesn't let go.
It certainly does, doesn't it? I'm from here and left for 30 years, and I had to come back. But I'm going to say this. You were at North Carolina during a prime time, still a prime time. They're a great basketball program, men and women. But Michael Jordan had just left 2 years before.
Yep.
When you got to Chapel Hill in '86 and '82, right, the building right behind you, he won the national championship as a freshman. My favorite player on that team was James Worthy. Always been a Worthy fan. Obviously, Jordan took off. This little freshman at that time took off to heights unknown. But the fact is, you're from a basketball mecca, a hotbed, and you played basketball there, correct?
Yes.
And talk about that era, though, in the 80s of playing in North Carolina in Chapel Hill. I mean, that's something else.
Oh, it was just a terrific experience. I can't imagine doing anything different than what I did. You know, I mean, you can't not be a Michael Jordan fan, right? I mean,
you must be
when you're from North Carolina, you are in high school or middle school, during the ACC tournament, you're not doing schoolwork.
No, you're not.
You're watching games.
Let's be honest.
I mean,
right.
and that is just the nature of
it's ACC
who we are, what we do.
right,
It's a basketball state. Unlike, down here, I find it to be more football with the SEC teams.
You find it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
But
I'm a basketball guy, so I appreciate the state of North Carolina.
Yeah, being from North Carolina and having that experience at Carolina was just something else. I mean, Michael Jordan would come and work our basketball camps in the summer.
Oh my goodness!
It was like it was just awesome. It really was.
And you talking about when you were in college and stuff,
yes, when I was in college.
And that's the '88. I like to call that the '88-ish Jordan when he was averaging 35 a game, but they weren't necessarily going to the finals yet. They were working their way through the Pistons and the Celtics and all that, and then they got there. But that era of basketball down there, I just think about it because I was going to go to college. I love it. I've been a Carolina fan unabashedly since '77. I hate to admit that, when they lost to Marquette in the finals in the Omni, and then being here in '82 watching that. I went to the '93 championship in the same building. '05 went to that. They lost in '08 in San Antonio. But I love the Tar Heels, and I love talking to people from that area. You got 3 of them in the Sweet 16 in men's right now from that state. I mean, Duke, UNC, and NC State, who's a sleeper. Wake Forest has been far in the tournament. So there's basketball everywhere in that state. But on the women's side, has it been the same?
It is growing into that.
Okay.
It has not always been that. Now, Carolina has been up and down. They actually won the national championship in '94.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
4 years after I was gone. I think they did it here at the arena.
I'm not positive because I was living in Atlanta by that time, so I'm not positive.
I was there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they were good for a while then, and then, when I was playing in the ACC, Dawn Staley was playing at the University of Virginia.
Virginia.
And they were so good.
Yes, you played against her?
I did.
She's a stud.
She was a stud.
As a coach as well.
And she's still a stud.
Right, exactly.
She just continues to be a stud.
Right.
But now, the ACC is, I think, in the women's game, one of the, if not the toughest leagues in the country.
Right.
In the country. You got Louisville and you've got Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
You got North Carolina.
Oh,
Duke has made it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
They're just so good from top to bottom. Very, very tough league.
Speaking of the women's game, how, as a coach for years, I mean, you've coached at least 3 decades. I know you're at UNC Wilmington too, correct? After that?
Yes, and the University of Richmond.
And Richmond, okay, the Spiders and Seahawks. There we go.
Yes.
All right. So, Tulane's former baseball coach Rick Jones is he's down there. He's always giving me updates on UNC. Wilmington W, yeah.
Yes.
And I have friends from Wrightsville Beach, so I know the area a little bit.
Beautiful area.
But women's basketball, I love seeing it. I mentioned this in my open, coming into the spotlight, like it should. It's great basketball. It's never been better. I remember seeing Dinah Taurasi. I used to produce games. I still do with Tim Brando. But Dinah Taurasi, when she was a freshman, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the first person I said, this girl can play and shoot. I mean, there's many great players, but this one I said she could play against the boys and compete easily.
Yeah.
And now, of course, what we're seeing with girls like Caitlin, who's like the Pistol Pete. I mean, not saying she's a showgirl like he is, but she can shoot. The women's game is being watched. I tuned into both the games last night. I couldn't wait to watch while I was working on this show. But as a women's coach in a women's game, I want you to say your opinion on how happy are you that it's become like this, where it's must-watch TV?
Oh, I mean, it is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable how far it's come since the days when I was a player. Back then, I didn't have the opportunity to watch other players on TV.
Right.
It wasn't this thing that, I'm going to dream to be Caitlin Clark. That didn't happen. You had dreams to go play places, and if you were lucky enough to go see people play in person, you had those dreams and ideas. But these days, you can turn on the TV at any point in time. The fact that Iowa, and I don't even know who they played, but could draw a crowd of 56,000 people.
Is that crazy?
To come and see them play.
It was unbelievable.
It's just amazing to me. And it's just thrilling to be in the game and be part of
They played
that
West
process.
Virginia last night, and it was a dogfight.
It was a dogfight.
And it's not just the top ones. There's always UConn, Tennessee, back in the day, Louisiana. Now you don't know.
You don't.
You don't really know, and that's exciting. And, you were at Tulane, and I want to talk real quick because obviously Lisa just retired. And she spent 30 years here. You were here for 10 of those.
Yes.
Talk about her and what she's meant for your career.
Oh, Lisa is, I'm proud to be able to call her a friend, and she's probably my biggest mentor. having worked for her for 10 years at Tulane, just coming in there as a very young coach, very green, not knowing all the ins and outs, and just learning from her how to do things the right way, how to, value the right things. I think that she has 100% graduation rate from Tulane for the kids that finish their career. I mean,
wow. Wow.
And that being what it's about.
Yes.
And just operating that program with the level of integrity and treating people the right way.
That's how you learn that.
Yes.
I mean, obviously it was brought up with you, but I mean, it's learning from a person when you spend 10 years with them doing it the right way. Does that help you in your career?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And in the end of it, when you are a head coach and you become a head coach after years of being an assistant for people, you do have to be yourself. So I had to be myself as a head coach, because if you try to really emulate somebody else, it just doesn't work. It's just not authentic. You really have to be authentically who you are. But, I hope that I am a lifelong learner.
Right.
And I can evolve as a coach, I can evolve as a person, and I can evolve as the game has evolved. And, we have to do that, I think, or we'll be left behind. But I do think my background with Lisa and Katie Meyer, I worked with for years, who's the head coach at Miami, really helped me become a better coach.
What's it been like to be a mother as a coach? I mean, because I saw an article a few years back and I read that and it was interesting to me, and now this has been a few years. What's that been like, this whole growth? I'm assuming that's your daughter?
That's Raleigh.
Raleigh.
She's named after the capital of North Carolina.
There you go. I love it. Beautiful name, by the way.
Thank you.
So what's that been like? I mean, because I know what goes into coaching. I know how hard it is, and it's tough enough for my good friends that are men, but then there's a relationship with the mother.
Yes.
So what's that been like?
Well, when I left Tulane, I knew I wanted to have children, or at least have a child, and so that was one of the impetus for me to leave.
You took a break from basketball. You were in the restaurant business.
I did.
Right? Yeah.
So, I was able and fortunate enough to have Raleigh in 2011, and I was at Loyola at the time, and Loyola just really embraced me with that and embraced her, and that is her home. Yes. I mean, she grew up drawing plays on the board. That's how we roll.
I just love that.
How
old is she now?
She'll be 13 April 2nd.
That's crazy.
Whew.
Right.
But I will tell you, as a coach, she changed me, because my teams will come back now and say, you have gotten soft. Like, no,
that's interesting.
I have not gotten soft. But when you have the perspective of being a parent.
That's the word, perspective, yes.
Before, I did not have the perspective of being a parent.
Right.
When you have that perspective of being a parent, and then I'm a coach, I'm a parent of
all of them.
Like it or not,
you are.
I'm a parent of all of them, and I love them dearly.
You're a mother figure, for sure.
Yes, and so I look at it a little bit differently.
Before I let you go, I got to talk about this team this year, because you made some special things happen again. I mean, last year was phenomenal as well, but talk about some of these players. So you have two of the top 10 leading scorers in Loyola history. I think Kennedy. I mean, is that how you pronounce
Sandra
it?
Kennedy.
Kennedy, and then Thomas.
Taylor Thomas.
So talk about them, and you got a couple more on the all-freshman team as well. Talk about this team this year.
I can tell you this is one of my most favorite teams that I have ever coached, and that is saying a lot. These guys just had such a commitment to this team and wanted to win so bad, and it was all about their team, and I just love them. And Taylor and Sandra were such a big part of our success. I can't say that enough. And those guys, Taylor's been with me for 5 years. This is her 5th year. Sandra was with me for 4. She transferred in from a Division I school. And I told them at the end of last year, I said, I'm going to do everything I can to make this team great for you guys next year. We're going to recruit the best players we can get in here, because I want to give you guys an opportunity to win it. And, they were all in, and they were a huge part of our success.
Mike was almost in tears about that game. I mean, it was a heartbreaker. I know you girls had a lead, but you called them guys too just now.
Yeah,
but you had the lead early on, and then it slipped away in the second half. Went to overtime. That was a tough one, huh?
It was tough. Tough. And for those 5th-year kids, they're feeling the pressure of their career ending.
Yes.
And they sense that coming. Even they don't want to be there and go there, they do sense that coming, and that's a lot of pressure for them. And I know they felt it at the game before, especially when we were playing at home.
Yeah.
And having to win that last game at home to advance to that round of 16. But, You know, that's hard to overcome sometimes, and be in the moment and, you know, just let that go. And I think they struggled a little bit with that, but we really played a great game until late game. We had a little bit of trouble scoring, but our defense was incredible. If you'd have told me we would held Carroll to 14% from the three-point line and lose that game, I would have said you're crazy.
You're crazy. There's no way.
But we just they played this crazy zone against us that we had prepared.
And they're a quality team. They're
great. They went to the Final Four of that tournament.
So hey, we give gifts, and I've been feverishly looking around for either the Mr. John Steakhouse with Desi Vega or the Shays de la Shays, but it's behind here, and I can't reach with my mic, so I'm going to give it to you right after. But this is Taz Performance.
Awesome. Thank you.
I don't know if do you wear any of that?
I
ever?
do.
Oh, you do wear it. Okay.
I do. I love their stuff.
Kelly, keep up the great work.
I appreciate it.
And I will
Thank
give
you
you
so
that
much
gift
for having me.
certificate. Absolutely. I loved having you. We're going to get you on one of these balls too. It might be a Saints ball if you don't mind.
That's okay.
But we're getting you on the ball. Kelly Kennedy, that season ended last week, but man, what a great career she's had. Whether it be 16 or 17 years coaching Loyola, we're not positive, but regardless, it's been great. And we're going to move forward to a sport that I fell in love with 5 years ago. I love rugby. Didn't know a thing about it. I started calling the games on TV. I fell in love with the guys, the camaraderie, the athleticism, and just the teamwork on this sport. And we're going to have one of their best. Nola Gold, this guy's from South Africa. He can play anywhere he wants in the world, but he wanted to come to the United States. First started out in San Diego. Now he's been in New Orleans for 4 seasons, and he's coming up next. JP du Plessis, right here on Primetime. Hey, welcome back to Primetime Sports. I'm not saying I'm saving the best for last because the guests were all great, but I have learned to love the sport of rugby after not knowing about it in 2018. I knew there was a sport, had no idea it was the second largest in the world. I didn't know it was fanatical around the world. Soccer, obviously, number one. You know, some people, I don't know about cricket. I've never played that. I've never heard that's big around the world, too. But rugby is huge. And the Rugby World Cup is one of the most watched events in the world after the Olympics and the Soccer World Cup. It's third, before the Super Bowl. And we have a guy from South Africa. We've had a lot of Nola Gold over the years because Ryan Fitzgerald has been the general manager since they got the franchise in 17. The league started in 18. He's been there ever since. He was just on the show. But when they brought in JP du Plessis to this team after he played 3 years in San Diego, that's when I knew things were starting to really pick up. They had Carl Meyer coming in from South Africa right before that. And when you bring in these two together, but here he is right here. The back of the year in the MLR back in 2019.
Yeah.
And now you've been here 4 years in New Orleans.
Like I said, I was lucky to get that.
You said off camera you were lucky because Tristan, you know, y'all were both equal, just different type players. Another South African, though.
Yeah, another South African, exactly. Shows you rugby. It's massive in South Africa. So,
how you doing, man?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me, Scott.
I love having your commercial on the show. I mean, you're such a good spokesman for the team.
I appreciate it.
You know, Cam has a new one. I want to get that. I think Harley is on one of the commercials we've been running. But you represent the city and the team so well. And what's when you moved to New Orleans from San Diego? I got to ask that to start with because you're the back of the year. San Diego had a ton of success in the league. What made the switch happen for you? I've never even asked you that personally.
So the thing at that point, I think it was, you know, I think it was just time for my family and I to make a bit of a change. There was, you know, a lot of stuff that actually that went on a little bit, oh, that's the ad.
That's the commercial. There you go, William Wagner's pack. No, but you came to New Orleans.
But anyway, so long story short, I spoke to Ryan Fitzgerald, and you know Fitzy. So he was like, "Listen, buddy, we need you over here."
He's the best man.
Yeah, exactly.
He really is.
Long story short, I ended up signing a 4-year contract with Nola Gold. One of my best decisions, by the way.
And then didn't you extend to 26?
I just extended it now, yeah.
You just extended to 26. There you go. We have it. As we say it, that's my producer right there. And look at that mean mug you got. I've never seen that face except on the
only
field.
a mother can love that face, to be honest.
But I'm going to say this, man. What is your take about this city after 4 years? I just want your honest opinion. Because we have our warts. We know that. But we have so much other things that kind of overshadow those?
To be honest with you, Scott, I just heard Kelly on the previously say that she came to New Orleans not thinking she's going to stay for long.
Right.
And when I spoke to Ryan about coming here, I said 4 years is a long time. I don't know if I'll be making 4 years. I'm coming from San Diego Beach, all this stuff.
Right. Exactly.
So, and I'll never forget. He said to me, "Listen, he came over only planning to stay. I think it was 6 months. I think he said at the time, and he's still here. And this is now many years later, right?
Many years. Yeah.
Something about New Orleans is just special. Raising my family here, we actually just bought a home in Mandeville.
And this is New Orleans Magazine, by the way. You had an article in New Orleans Magazine. I'm like, this guy's made it in this town because they only represent people that that know they love the city.
Yeah. So yeah, look, to be honest, for us, we are really blessed to be here. I'm privileged to be here. We love the city. We love. We just bought a home in Mandeville. Moved our family over there. Kids are in school. They're happy. So what's not to love about the city?
I love that, man. And you're going to even be loved more when you say stuff like that. People from New Orleans, they love their city. We can talk bad about it, but we don't want anybody else. And when you love it like we do, that's one of my favorite shots, by the way, JP.
Oh, yeah.
That really is. The look, the neck strain, the determination. I mean, when you're out there, you can see you're one guy that gives it his all. And I know the whole team does and the whole league. But, man, you wear it on your face. You could say you want to win as bad as anyone. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think I've got a massive passion for the game, a big love for the game. And, also combine that with the love for the team. There's no other way than for me to pitch up every game and just give it 100%. Every game, the way I see it, every game I play might be my last game. I never know.
Right.
So that's the way I play.
You've been in the league from the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, from the beginning. The league began in 18. I said Ryan got hired in 17 because they were getting ready for, they were going to be one of the first inaugural teams in the league,
correct,
right?
Yes.
So you've seen it. You've seen it come now. This is, the 7th year of the league, correct?
Sure.
And
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
4th in New Orleans. Talk about that perspective as a South African that moved here. You came like a pioneer. You didn't know what was happening. They've had other upstart leagues that didn't make it, right?
Yeah.
But what did you see to come to America for this, and then why did you stay, and where do you see where the league has started and where it is now?
Yeah, so I think, funnily enough, I've always had a passion for playing rugby in America.
Yeah.
I even said that when I was playing in South Africa. Towards the end of my career, I was looking to maybe go play some rugby here. And at that point, that was 2016. I was pretty young, but I decided to retire. My wife was pregnant. We were traveling, Australia and New Zealand for months at a time and all that stuff. So I said, okay, I'm done playing there. So I would love to go play in America and help grow rugby. And at that point, it wasn't even probably a year later, I got a call from San Diego. I said to my wife, it's meant to be. It has to be. But at that point, I just.
So you'd already made your mind to come up to America.
Absolutely. So for some reason, I had a passion that I wanted to come over to America and experience America, but also come play rugby.
Yeah.
Or even coach at that point, I thought.
Right.
When I got the call, I just acquired my first restaurant. So I actually went into. I said, okay, well, I'm done playing rugby. I'll go into the restaurant industry at that point.
Okay.
And so my wife's like, oh, she doesn't know if we can leave South Africa. We just bought the restaurant and
sure, that's a big leap for a mother. And did y'all have any kids yet at that time?
We had one kid, and my wife was pregnant. So
and she was pregnant. And now you have 4? Is that
so? Now I got 3.
You have 3 right now. Okay,
absolutely not 4. 3 is enough.
3 is enough. 3's company.
The magic number.
3 is company. Hey, by the way, can I say something about South Africans?
Sure.
Is there a bad one in the bunch? Because everyone I know is such a great guy. Carl Meyer, Tristan Blewett, JP Eloff, JP Duplessis.
Yeah.
I mean, and everyone else I've met, you're just great guys. Why is that?
Oh, I appreciate that. Look, I think our culture is pretty, I guess, strict and very traditional by the way that we were raised. And I think that's got a lot to do with how we become as adults, and how we, as a kid, our father or our mother or whatever, they'd be like rules and be very
strict. It makes sense though. No, you're also respectful and you care about others and you put others before yourself.
And I appreciate that now, looking back and raising my kids. So,
right.
But thank you for that anyway.
I mean that from the bottom of my heart, and I say it all the time to other people. There you are in the community right there. I love this shot. Is that you?
Yeah, Moni, George.
Yes.
And then
Great guys.
Once he was in the last one there.
Big guy, what's his name? I can't remember. Anyway, but I love that y'all go out in the community, do stuff, and the NOLA Gold does that. But when this team came and you were in the league when it began, and they've always been near the thing. They just missed in the playoffs. Yeah. And I remember a couple of years y'all were 10-6 and 21, I believe. Yeah. And you missed out on a tiebreaker. Yeah. What's it mean for this team to make the playoffs this season?
It's massive for us. We've set our goals this season. We obviously know our goal is to make the playoffs and then go as far as we can, even win it. So, but again, that's not what drives us. What drives us is the next game. The next training session is to really be the best in our next match, and that will accumulate to playoffs and all these things. So even though that's our goal, that's not what we focus on at the moment.
So this is a bye week right now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you're 3-1.
Sure.
Great start. I watched all 4 games. I watched the one that you lost. That was a tough one, man. You played the defending champion New England Free Jacks. You're up 14-0. Yeah. And then that one slipped away. Sure. But no shame in that game. You got a point because you lost within 1. Yeah. And the point system means everything in this. So. Sure. I mean, when you go from this bye week and you have that big game coming up against Chicago, correct?
Yeah.
Let's talk about packing the Shrine, the Gaumont on Airline.
Yeah.
So what can we do to get the fans in? Because I'm going to say this. If you've been to a rugby game, you're coming back.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
Absolutely.
And I went to the opener and I had such a great time again. I saw you you were down the road in a suite because you couldn't play in that game and I know it was killing you. Yeah. And old King Creole was all upset and bummed out. Is that still the mascot?
That is, absolutely.
Okay. I mean, I'm hoping we're not showing an old mascot. But the fact is, I don't remember seeing him at the game though.
He's a legend.
He is a legend. Yeah. But the fact is like when you go into this game and now you got the momentum. You won one of those 2 road games. I hate to say, but the mindset is at least let's split on the road. You want to win your home ones, but now you're coming in with the momentum. You got the bye week to rest.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about that game in 2 weeks on April 6th, right?
Yeah. So you mentioned the bye week, and I think for us, it couldn't have come at a better time to recharge our bodies. I mean, it's been a pre-season, 2 warm-up games, 4 games in a row, and that all accumulates on the body. So this has come at a perfect time for us to reset the bodies, and we're all going away. We're still training by ourselves or as a team, guys that are around in town and whatever, and still staying active. But I think this has been really good for us, and in the back of our minds, we're not losing sight of next weekend against Chicago. It's a very big game for us, and Chicago's a very good team. I think they've been pretty unlucky with some of their results. Right. Hasn't come their way all the time. But they're a very good team.
Hey, the NOLA Gold knows all about some unlucky results.
Exactly. So we're not going to.
We're not feeling too bad for them, all right? Hey, but bottom line is, you've seen 3 different coaches on this team since you've been here.
Yeah.
Nate was the winningest coach when he left, and it was the first year.
Sure.
Then you had Kane Thompson last year, and is it Corey Brown?
Corey Brown. Yeah.
Corey Brown is the new coach this season. Yeah. Talk about that transition between the 3.
I think Corey Brown brings a ton of experience to the team. His presence that he brings as well is very calm. He brings a lot of clarity within the team, and he's that kind of that calm authority, which is very important in a team. So I think he's been a massive addition to the team this year.
Sure.
And also his style of play, I think, is extremely appealing for the players, and the results come. So that's good.
When you look at the if I'm sitting here and you're looking at the audience saying why they should come to see the rugby team and what makes it fun and special,
sure,
what would you say?
Oh, people are coming. That's the longer the seasons go on, more people are coming, because as you say, once they watch it,
you're noticing it around the country.
Absolutely.
Okay. I love it.
And the nice thing is, as you say, once people watch the game and experience it, they might not necessarily always understand the rules, but they watch the game and it's so entertaining that people keep coming back. So look, I can say this: it's extremely entertaining. It's family friendly. Bring the kids play around there. Plus, I mean, it's full contact, massive hits. It's really entertaining in that sense.
So it's big time.
So it's really.
I'm gonna bring your fellow South African Carl Meyer. Come on over here, Carl. You're gonna stand behind him. Just stand behind him, because this is
legend.
He played only like 4 years, 3.5 years with the goal, but he's a legend too.
Yeah.
Just like JP's now a legend, but Carl Meyer and Carl's so great. We're gonna give them both gift certificates or gift cards from Desi Vega's Mr. John's Steakhouse. That's right. We got one for each of you guys.
I appreciate
don't know where I put the other one. There's that one for you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Scott.
No, I'm not done with you. Because you get hungry. Yeah, there you go. This is the one I'm giving to him. I gave it to Hey, Desi, Carl Meyer's a legend. This guy's going to be the #1 kicker in the NFL in 2 years. Yeah. He won a title. He left the goal to pursue his dream. They call him the leg in rugby. That means you got a big leg to boot, and he's going to become a field goal kicker, maybe a punter, maybe both. But he's not going to be Russell Erkslaven, who was a first-round pick for the Saints and did both and was a bust. This guy's going to be great. He won a title in the Arena Football League. Bring your head down a little bit. Bring it down, Carl. There you go. There you go. There you go. You can give that another shot now. Yeah. But I'm also going to give you Shays Della Shays. So you not only have Mr. John's. Okay. Go with Carl to that one, okay?
Okay, sure.
Steakhouse,
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And then take your wife to Shays Della Shays.
Thank you so much.
And we get, team it up.
I appreciate that, buddy. Thank you so much.
We love you. Hey, also, by the way, Task Performance. Carl, you can hand me one of those. Just hand me one. Any of them. I'll change the size. And well, this is a large. We're gonna give you a large and extra large because we got the legend. Now he says he likes them tight.
Yeah.
Well, Cam Dolan got a large. Cam Dolan's like 6'6".
Cam's got a large. Of course he does. Yeah.
I know. And I'm like, oh my God, Cam, I was gonna get you double X. I didn't know you were that. No, but here, I love what you guys are doing.
Thank you so much,
and
Scott.
continue it.
Thank you so much.
I got to get off there.
Thank you for having us.
Come on, support this team, please. Carl Meyer, thank you as well. Hey, they play April 6th at 3 p.m. at the Shrine Airline, now the Goldmine Airline. I got to run now because I'm running out of time, but I want to thank everybody in the control room and, of course, Jim and Ron. We'll see you next week right here on Primetime Sports.
This series, we get to know some of the most famous designers and their fashion legacies. We'll also get to know new designers and learn how they are forging their way in this competitive fashion world. From the red carpet to fabulous furs, from the little black dress to dazzling beaded gowns, we will have fun exploring how these design concepts can be stitched and included in our everyday lives. Join us on Fit to Stitch.